What is up, everybody? It is finally time for the Shadow of the Erdtree walkthrough. It's hard to believe that after so much time, this is reality, but here we are, so let's get started. For those of you wondering, this is the same exact character that we used for the base game walkthrough, and I still am in base new game. I've not advanced this character to new game plus or anything further. If this is your first time through the DLC, I recommend that you do the same in base game difficulty. Also, just as a quick refresher, let's take a look at the build. So I am running the +10 Bloodhound's Fang along with a +10 Black Bow. None of that should be a surprise to any of y'all who followed through the walkthrough. Also have the Great Turtle Shell +7. This I do not use to block or parry very much with, more so I just have it equipped for the passive stamina buff that it gives you for having it equipped. Also have a claw mark seal for some basic incants. Nothing fancy on this build, but I do have urgent heal and flame grant me strength to use when needed. I've got the Raging Wolf Helm, Blide's Armor, Blide's Gauntlets, and his Greaves. And then for talismans, I've got the Erdtree's Favor +2, Shard of Alexander for extra damage on special attacks, Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman for extra defense, and Claw Talisman for extra jump attack damage. For items on my quick toolbar, I just have my red flask, my blue flask, and my physic flask. I like to keep it pretty streamlined on my toolbar so I'm not fumbling through items to use in the heat of battle, so I keep it pretty simple there. As far as levels are concerned, I am at 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 40 Endurance, 45 Strength, 49 Dex, 10 Intelligence, 16 Faith, and 8 Arcane, which is exactly what I ran for the base game walkthrough. So none of that has changed at all. Should be no surprises there. So with that being said, let us get into the DLC. So we got a new NPC here. In order to get this to trigger, you have to purchase the DLC. And then also you have to have beaten Radahn and also beaten Moog, which we're in his boss arena now, right outside of Miquella's Cocoon, which is the entry point to the DLC. So let's have a quick chat.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella? I am Leda. And like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm, and you too will be transported to the realm of shadow where Miquella the Kind now dwells. My compatriots are there already. Like us, they have heard kindly Miquella's call. If you can find them, they are certain to lend you aid.
We'll exhaust our dialogue.
Touch the... I will not be far behind.
All right, so this is Needle Knight Lita. She is one of the new NPCs in the DLC. And as she alluded to, we have some new friends in the DLC as well. New bosses, new lore, new everything. So let's go. To get to the DLC, we got to touch the withered arm, and we will head to the realm of shadow. All right, so here we are in the realm of shadow. No cutscene, just straight to the action. So if you go forward here, we are going to get to our first site of grace. But first, let's just take it in. This is the gravesite plain, the first major area. So there we see what's in store for us. So good. The art direction in this DLC is top notch, as we come to expect from Miyazaki and from Software. So let's go and activate our first site of grace here. And sites of grace in the DLC function exactly the same as they do in the base game. Just as a quick little tip, you can activate the map. If you press R1, you get to the map of the base game. Press R1 again, it goes back to the map of the DLC. You can freely travel between sites of grace that you've activated in either place, or go to Round Table Hold whenever you want, as you would come to expect. Just as a quick refresher, on my quick toolbar, by pressing triangle on a PlayStation controller or Y on an Xbox controller, I have my lantern equipped to my up arrow. I have Torrent, my Torrent whistle on my down arrow, Mimic on my right arrow, and it looks like I have the Rada fruits for his health, for Torrent's health, on my left arrow. So that's that. One thing I do want to point out before we get started is with the patch that was released right before the DLC dropped, there is a new setting here that you can turn on that I do recommend that you turn on. It's this right here, Mark New Items and Show Recent Items tab. You want both of those to be on, or at least I want both of those to be on, and I recommend it just because when you pick up new items in the DLC, there's this new tab here in your inventory that sorts your items by recency. And so that whenever you pick up something new and you want to see exactly what you just picked up, you can see exactly what that is, because we're going to be getting a lot of new stuff in the DLC. There's a lot of new items, a lot of new weapons, new crafting, all sorts of good stuff. So make sure you have that on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, well, let's see. It's a bit more foggy than I'm used to here, but maybe it's just, I'm going to actually rest at the site of grace and maybe warp to a different time of day, because the visibility is a little bit lower than I would like. And a lot of that, the weather and stuff is random. But I'm going to pass the time and just go to noon, and hopefully that fixes it. No, not really. Oh well, it is what it is. But anyway, so as you can see on top of this little archway. Okay, now it's gotten better. I think we just had to move into the land a little bit here. You can see on top of this arch, there is an enemy. This is the first enemy you can possibly encounter. This is totally optional. This guy killed me on my first playthrough. My first encounter on my first playthrough of the DLC, this guy killed me. He is super aggressive. I generally kill him with the Bloodhound's Finesse special move. You see that did quite a bit of damage, and then you want to back away. I think backwards dodging is a good way to go about it, because he aggressively pursues you. You see he has that grab attack where he like breaks your neck with his legs, and he has the pretty relentless combos. He's very dangerous, as you can see. But let's see. Once you kill him, this guy does not respawn. But there's a few of these that we're going to encounter throughout our journey here. And he dropped the ascetic ankle guards. I'm not sure if that's a guaranteed drop or not. And then you see way over there, that is a furnace golem. There are several of these throughout the Shadow Realm. We're going to be encountering them, but not right away. Okay, so first things first, first order of business, we want to go and get the map fragment, which happens to be right in front of us. And there's, as in the base game, there's crafting materials all over the ground, so pick those up as you go. So we got a map of the gravesite plain. Let's check it out. So this is just a sliver of what we're going to be experiencing. This world is actually pretty huge. I'd say it's about 1/3, maybe 1/4 the size of the base game. It's pretty massive for a DLC, and it'll take many hours to get through. So right in front of us, we have our first kind of thing that we want to go to, our first landmark, so to speak, and there are some goodies to pick up. So much unlike the first guy we encountered, these guys go down really easy. Pretty much one shot for most of these guys. They are hostile. They will attack you. Many of them will attack you. Some of them are just kind of minding their own business, but a lot of them will attack you. Many will throw items at you, like rocks, things like that. So do be careful. Mind your way through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up. And this is going to be our first hefty cracked pot. This is new for the DLC. The hefty cracked pots are, as you could imagine, a bit larger than the other cracked pots that you get in the base game. And when we get the recipes, we can craft some pretty nice items for those. That will be pretty good for us. So here we have our first recipe. This is the Greater Potentate's Cookbook. We check this out, actually. If you go to our inventory, you see now that we have this sorted by what we just picked up. So if you look at the Greater Potentate's Cookbook, it gives us hefty fire pots, which is a new thing that we can craft. So if we go to our crafting here, look at this. We can now craft a hefty fire pot. We don't have the materials for it yet, but there it is to craft. And you need at least one hefty pot to actually do it as well, along with the required items listed there on the screen. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is there are some black fireflies over here. Black firefly is a new crafting material in the game that we can use for crafting. Those fire pots that we just looked up require those actually. If you're careful, you can double jump up here with Torrent. So just do a quick, go up to the top of these stairs. And if you double jump, you can double jump right up here. And there's another item here. We got red flesh mushrooms, another crafting material required for the new pots we just picked up. If you go down this way, there's some more of the fireflies. So we're gonna get those just to have them. I'm not gonna pick up every single crafting material on the map as we go, but I just recommend kind of as you ride Torrent, if you just mash triangle or Y as you go, you'll be picking up stuff on the ground. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to dismount Torrent for this part. We're going to go over to the other side here. And this is a shadowy dog. These things are a bit more aggressive than the other enemies, so I want to take him out for sure. As long as these guys leave me alone, I generally won't bother them either. So if you roll behind these pots, got a Shadow Realm 2, which Shadow Realm has their own rune items we're going to be getting as we progress through. So up here, these guys are going to be throwing stuff at us. So we want to take them out real quick. And then if we turn behind us, right up this roof here, there's another item waiting for us. So, oh, oops, I dropped down. I didn't mean to drop down. What we want to do now is go up where we just were. Where those guys were throwing stuff at us. And we want to get to the top of this structure. And this is the Scorched Ruins. So there are a few segments of this game that are, I guess they're called ruins, where they generally have a pretty good item tucked away somewhere in them, but you gotta search it out. We go through this door here. This will open up. And we are going to pick up the Blade of Mercy. This is a new talisman for the DLC. So if we go to our equipment, I actually like this. I'm going to equip it in place of my shield, my Great Shield Talisman. And the Blade of Mercy, what it does is it raises your attack power. It gives you a buff to your attack power if you get a critical hit. So very nice. Comes in handy for sure. We drop down here. We're going to get some more butterflies. Right. I think this was a drop from an enemy. This is not guaranteed, but I'll pick it up since it's there. Some knot resin. That's a new crafting. Or I don't know if that's new to the DLC or not, but it is required for some stuff. So what we want to do now is you head north from these Scorched Ruins. We have our next site of grace that we're going to pick up. And we'll go ahead and rest here. Just get our health back and whatnot. So what we want to do now is we want to head directly east, kind of right around here. And this is going to take us to our next point of interest. And along the way, you're going to find these ghosts, similar to the base game. They kind of say things that could be important to the lore. All your resentment lingers yet, the raw stuff from which I shall surely forge a curse upon the dastard Mesmer's head, upon Marika's children each and all. So those of you who watched the trailers for the game, you probably heard Mesmer's name before. He plays an important role in the DLC. So right here is what we want. So you see this guy has the pot on his head. He's kind of shiny. You want to kill him really quickly because he will disappear. And these guys that you come along throughout the Shadow Realm that have those pots on their head that have the sparkles. There are some that have pots on their heads that do not have the sparkles, but particularly the ones that have the sparkles drop important items. And so you want to make sure that you kill them. If you don't kill them quickly enough, they will disappear. If they disappear, all you got to do is quit and reload, and then they'll pop right back in when you restart the game. So I recommend doing that if this one disappears on you. And this one drops a Erdtree Blessing, or a Erdtree Fragment, which can be found across the Realm of Shadow. Consume these at sites of grace to bolster your Erdtree Blessing. The Erdtree Blessing bolsters the recipient's abilities to deal and negate damage, but has no influence outside the Realm of Shadow. So these Erdtree Blessings are extremely important. This is basically the DLC's way of leveling you up. So you can go into the DLC, you can be level 300 and still feel weak. That's because this DLC is tuned to the Erdtree Blessings. So if you're not leveling yourself up with the Erdtree Blessings, you're going to be very weak in the DLC. And these give you a straight percentage boost to all of your damage and all of your damage negation when you level up. And you level up with them at a site of grace. We're going to do that in just a second here. Before we do that, we're going to make a couple pit stops. So there's going to be something that we want to get here, kind of in this wall. We also want to go here for another weapon, and then here for another site of grace. So just follow along these waypoints and you should be good to go. There's going to be enemies along the way. We may not be fighting everything. If we stop to fight everything, it's going to take forever. But you can engage in combat as you choose. So what we want to do is go in this cave. There's a painting. Much like in the base game, these paintings reveal a location on the map that give you an item if you go to the location to where the artist presumably painted this. This one's not available till the very end, so we're going to be hanging on to this one for a while. All right, so follow this way. And this is a new enemy type. These are called Horn Scent. As we get later into the game, the Horn Scent we're gonna learn more about them and their role in the Shadow Realm, and maybe learn some more things about how things ended up the way that they did. But for now, we're just gonna take them out. And here we get the Backhand Blade, which is I think it's a dex weapon. It's a new weapon type in the DLC. So what we want to do now is we want to head straight to this beacon, which is going to get us to a new site of grace. Ignore this guy for now. We're going to come back for him later. but he's a bit too powerful for us now. You see, we got some dudes trying to fight us, but for now, we're just going to go over here to our next site of grace. All right, here we got a couple NPCs as well. So I mentioned the Hornsent before. That is a kind of a new race of NPCs in the Shadow Realm. And this guy, his name is Hornsent, but we're going to talk to him.
Another. Then, as that woman would surely say, but understand. The Erdtree is my people's enemy. By Marek, I believe Miquella's apologies when he says but never will I see your... And yet if Miquella it is whom you would seek, these are the sights. I urge you, as long as you abide by his footfalls.
All right, so this gives us a map to these crosses. These crosses basically represent Miquella's footsteps, and we're following Miquella's footsteps. We're trying to find Miquella. You heard from Hornsent that he's not a fan of Queen Marika. Marika and the Hornsent do not get along. We'll find out more about that later. So this says, carved words coalesce. I abandon here first the flesh of my body. So we're going to be coming across these crosses as we go through this new area. And as you go to our inventory, we have this map here, and this shows the location of 3 of them. And so each time you come across one of these Miquella's crosses, there are usually items nearby, one of which is usually a Erdtree fragment. And we're going to be dealing with these in a little bit to level up our character. I'll show you just a bit when we get to this grace. But first, we're going to talk to Freya.
Lady Leda spoke of you. You're that tarnished. Guided here by kindly Miquella. I am Freya. I once fought alongside General Radahn. In battle, you can be... Oh, another. Did you speak to our dour little... If you've yet to do so, have him give you... You'll find more of them dotted about the... They are Miquella the Kind's. If you've yet to do so, assuming you...
Okay, so you see, everyone speaks very highly of Miquella, so pay attention to that, and that'll play a big role later. And you see, okay, the fog has finally dissipated, so I can see now, which is good. All right, so let's activate this site of grace, and we're going to go over the Erdtree blessings real quick, because we have a couple of them. So now we see that you have this new option on the menu here, Shadow Realm Blessing. Erdtree Blessing, we can level ourselves up. Consume Erdtree fragments to bolster your Erdtree Blessing. It bolsters the recipient's abilities to deal and negate damage, but has no influence outside the realm of shadow. So this will have no impact on the lands between the base game. This just impacts your stats within the DLC. So use 1 Erdtree fragment to empower blessing. So you see the next blessing actually requires 2 Erdtree fragments. We only have 1 left over, so we're going to get another one in just a bit to get to level 2. But what this does is if you're on the latest patch, and I'm on actually the latest patch, which is 1.12.3, and just to show you real quick, the way that you would check that is if you quit out and go to the main menu, you can see I'm playing offline as per usual. I just don't like the extra messages on the ground and watching people's ghosts and stuff like that when I'm playing the game. I like to just kind of be focused in on what's going on in the walkthrough. So I'm playing offline, but you see here my app version is 1.12.3. I recommend being on the latest patch because they did change the potency of the Erdtree blessings in a patch. So if you're playing on the original patch for the DLC, your Erdtree blessings are not going to be as powerful. So with level 1 Erdtree fragment, we're going to be doing 1.1x extra damage, so 10% extra damage, and our damage negation is almost an extra 10% damage negation, and that's going to play a huge role because the enemies in the DLC hit hard. So I very much recommend doing these Erdtree levels within the DLC as I'm doing them as well, just because it will bolster your attack power and your defense significantly. And with the way these bosses hit, with the way these enemies hit, as you'll see when we get further into DLC, it is pretty much essential if you want to have a good time. So what we're doing now is we're just heading on this path right here to the stairs. There's actually going to be another Miquella's Cross and another Erdtree fragment. So let's pick those up. And the thing is you could rush through. We have this. Well, I can't open my map right now because I'm under attack allegedly. But anyway, so I'm going to unlock the site of grace just so I can open my map real quick, just to show an example here of what I'm trying to say. So a large section of this map, far beyond what we have unlocked right now, you could theoretically go there now and get more blessings and power up. You could rush through certain parts of the map and get these upgrades earlier, but I think this game does a pretty good job of balancing you throughout. So similar to my philosophy of the base game, my base game walkthrough, we're just going to be exploring the map pretty organically as we go. I'm not going to intentionally explore other areas of the map right now that we shouldn't be going to, that are meant for the later game, just to get the early power-ups, to get OP early, so to speak. So we're going to be rolling through the map pretty organically in that regard. So now that we have another blessing, we can... or another fragment we can upgrade to level 2. And so this is going to give us, now that we're level 2 with the latest patch, we're going to be dealing 20% extra damage. And as I said, this only applies within the DLC, does not apply in the base game. So 20% extra damage, and we're going to be doing 0.833x damage negation. So attacks are going to hit us less for less damage, and we're going to be dealing 20% more damage just by having those 2 upgrades. So we got a couple new NPCs here. Let's have a quick chat.
You must be the Tarnished. I am Ansbach, formerly in service to Lord Moog, but now, like you, another soul guided by kindly Mikola. I'm hardly the steady hand I once was, which is why I have chosen to dedicate to discern tender Mikola. I'd rather not volunteer service to... May 6 crosses, identical to this one. They are akin to tender Mikola's footprints. If you discover any, be certain to... I presume you just what kind... If you discover, be certain... I presume...
So he tells us there are 6 more crosses. We've discovered 2 of them, and the map we have only has 3 of them, by the way. So there are more crosses, and as they've said, they kind of represent his footsteps. So we're going to be following along as we go. And this is more.
Hello there. Together. For Mikola, many things.
He happens to be a merchant. So all of these NPCs that we've talked to so far actually do have a quest line. We will be doing all of the NPC quest lines as part of this playthrough. And for him to get his quest going, you actually have to buy something from him. I recommend just buying this sealed Spirit Springs note from him. This gives us a hint. There are Spirit Spring jumps in this game for Torrent, much like there are in the base game, but some of them are tied to a puzzle, and then this note gives you a hint to that puzzle. Also, you can buy some Black Fireflies here. Really don't, some Rune Arcs, and then some Sanguine, whatever that is. These are crafting materials in the DLC. You don't really need to buy these. I'm not going to recommend buying them, but you certainly can if you are so inclined. So now that we've bought something from him, we can talk to him.
Like finding things for you, Lady Leda. Her allies, things bring... for you, things bring...
All right, and that's it for them for now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to warp back to the original site of Grace here in the gravesite plane. We're going to do some more exploring. So first things first, I'm going to go on and warp it to nighttime. There are certain items that can only be picked up at nighttime. So we are going to pass the time until nightfall. Okay, and so now I'm going to mark the map for a couple things we're going to go grab. First thing is going to be here. Second thing is going to be right about here. So again, for this first item that we're going to show up, it does have to be nighttime, so just be aware of that. If you go in the daytime, you're not going to see it. Right here, you see where it's kind of shiny. This only happens at night. And right here is a larval tier. Can be used if you go back to the base game and talk to Renala at Rhea Lucaria Academy. You can take that to her to respec. And then over here, something also very important. Let's check this out. This is a revered Spirit Ash Blessing. So what this does is it's similar to the Erdtree fragment. The revered Spirit Ashes, you can consume those at sites of grace to bolster your revered Spirit Ash Blessing. The revered Spirit Ash Blessing bolsters both summoned spirits and spectral steeds' abilities to deal and negate damage, but also has no influence outside the realm of shadow. So again, this does not impact the base game, but what this does is if you use these, they actually level up the attack power and defense of your spirit summons and of Torrent. So also very important. So if you're going to be using spirit summons for your boss fights, they'll be dealing extra damage and receiving less damage, much similar to how we're doing with our Erdtree blessings. So we're going to go ahead and level up that to get our Spirit Ashes and Torrent leveled up as well. I'm going to go ahead and pass the time to daytime because we got the thing that we needed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to explore a little bit more down here. We're going to follow this road here. Make sure you don't go down into here. There's a very strong enemy that we're going to fight a little bit later when we're just a bit stronger. But for now, we're going to get some important loot. So stay out of the woods. For now, just stay close to the road and you should be fine. We do have some important things to get. And as I said, some of the enemies and most of the bosses in this game are very challenging. I would say most bosses in this game are harder than like Moog even in the base game. So some of the hardest, some of the bosses in this game are harder than some of the hardest bosses in the base game. And there are builds that can just wreck the DLC. Like seriously, you can steamroll many of the bosses. One such build is if you equip your strongest armor with the best defense, and then also put on a really powerful great shield, say the fingerprint great shield, you can basically just tank everything. And if you use a spear, for example, you can poke from behind your shield while you're guarding. So use a shield with very high guard boost, like the fingerprint shield, and then you put on a great shield, talisman, magic grease, and have a good Ash of War for your shield. And as I said, really tanky armor. You can pretty much steamroll most of the enemies and most of the bosses, at least as of now, unless they nerf something in a later patch. And so one of my goals with this walkthrough is for the walkthrough to be pretty evergreen. I don't want to be using something that I fear might be patched later on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lure this guy out with the bow because there's some other enemies in there and I want to fight this guy one-on-one. So I'm going to be using a pretty conventional build. I want to make sure that people who are using this a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that this build is still relevant even after the game has been patched. So I'm not going to be using, I'm not going to be using cheesy strats as well as they may work. You kill him, you get the Black Steel Great Hammer. Very good Great Hammer, new to the DLC. I won't be using it, but it is a pretty cool weapon. So here we got some more of the Black Fireflies. These guys, don't let them sneak up on you. And here we get 2 Erdtree fragments. So very important. And if you go behind here, you got a Blessing America, which pretty much it's an item that recovers all of your HP and recovers all status effects, I believe. And over here, we got some enemies. More butterflies. So yeah, the main goal, as I said, is I want this walkthrough and the build that I use in this walkthrough to withstand the test of time. I want it to be relatively patch-proof. There's no way to tell the future, of course, but I feel pretty confident with what I'm going to be using for the most part, that we're going to be in good hands for months and for years to come, regardless of what they decide to do for patches. You see that guy buffed himself, or 2 of them buffed themselves. Or all 3 of them did, actually. So be careful with them. When they have that red aura surrounding them, that means that they're buffed, and they hit really hard when they're buffed. And here, more butterflies. And we have so I think that's pretty much it for that. So let us go back here. We're going to put those Erdtree blessings or Erdtree fragments that we got to good use. We're going to get us to level 3, which at level 3 on the latest patch, we're going to be doing 25% extra damage. And so again, I recommend that you do install the latest patch. And the reason for that is because if you don't, you're only going to have 15% extra damage instead of 25% extra damage at level 3 Erdtree blessing. So Again, can't emphasize that enough. It is really important. So the reason why I want to level us up to level 3 now is now I feel like we're going to be in better shape to fight this guy down here. He is tough. He's very aggressive. Most of the elite level enemies and bosses in this game are extremely aggressive. So really the best thing to do is to try to use that against them. And the Bloodhound's Finesse special move does a very good job at doing that. Generally, because if they pursue you too aggressively, if you time the move right, they're just going to walk right into it. So this guy that we're trying to find, he's right here in these woods. And he should approach us. So you hear that? That is a sign that he is nearby. Behind one of these arches is an item that we want to pick up, but there he is. So he is super aggressive. He has long combos. Dodging backwards is probably your best bet because he is so fast and aggressive. What you want to do is kind of wait for his combos to end. And then once he ends his combo, I'm going to do a Bloodhound's Finesse and hopefully he'll walk right into it. So there we go. And so you see his claws do beast build up, or blood build up rather. And take this slow. Don't rush in, because if you rush in, he's going to mess you up. He has really strong combos. He can wipe out your health bar almost immediately if you're not careful. So as I said, I'm going to wait for him to do the combo, and then usually, though, after he finishes that, he rushes in and my attack will hit him. All right, let's see. So I said, I'm being very, very patient and careful with him. And he does have a flask. He usually does use his flask. So you see that combo, man. Oh, geez, it's so dangerous. He's probably gonna use his flask too. There he goes. He tried to use it. See if I can knock him out of being able to use it. If I can get him, take him out. He's gonna use it. No? Oh, there he goes. Doesn't, as you see, doesn't recover much health for him, fortunately. But you see, I'm kind of backing away and using his aggressiveness to my advantage. Oh, that combo is pretty nasty. So you see, he's running towards me, and I wasn't prepared because I was using my blue flask there. But as he runs towards me, I try to time the attack. There we go, got him. So as I said, if you wanted to make that a lot easier, there are other builds that can steamroll just about every enemy in this DLC. If you have a great shield, most of his attacks are not going to get through. I'm trying to find that archway that has the item behind it. I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. There are lots of materials around here to pick up. There's mushrooms, the knot resin. Item is like on the map. I think it's like down here somewhere towards the cliff. And it is a lump of flesh. Not super important, but it's there, so I want to get it. There we go. All right. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to warp back over here. Actually, no, we'll warp here. Just as well. And where we're headed next is right here. And again, there's a reason why we got to Erdtree level 3 before fighting some of these enemies, because we're about to fight a boss, like an actual boss, has a boss health bar. And this guy messed me up on my first playthrough. Now, granted, I fought him before I found any Erdtree fragments, which is why I was very adamant about getting to level 3 before doing this. And up here, you're going to see these birds that drop down. They're not too big of a threat unless you have 2 or 3 of them surrounding you. So if you take them out one at a time, they should be fine. These blue things, not quite sure what they are. I'm sure there's some important lore implication with them, but Not quite sure. I don't know yet. So right here we have the Western Nameless Mausoleum. Here we cannot use a spirit summon, so just beware. You're kind of mono-e-mono with this guy. I am going to buff up before going in. I think I have the, let's see, what's my flask concoction? I don't know if I can even check that. Yes, I can. Have the Stone Barbed Crack tier, Dexterity Not Crystal tier. This guy is very hard to posture break, so the Stone Barbed Crack tier is not even going to really help me, but the Dex will give me a little bit of extra damage. So I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to use Flame Grant Me Strength for some extra damage as well. And I'm going to show you this guy's moves to the best of my ability. Usually he comes out with his crossbow and run to the side when he tries to fire his crossbow, because you see he does like this rapid fire move with it, and if it hits you, then you're in bad shape. He is parryable as well. I'm not really going to be parrying him. I'm going to do more dodges, but he is parryable. When he's holding his sword with one hand, it's not too bad. When he two-hands his sword, he has this special attack, which can be very damaging. So special attack has two moves to it. It has a projectile there, and then he follows it up with that charge swipe, and that can be very deadly if both of those connect. So now that I've showed you his moves, I'm going to just go on and fight him. This guy, he took me about a half hour to kill on my first playthrough. It was pretty challenging. He's very tough, very tanky, has a lot of HP, and he hits really hard. So I'm going to go on and heal up. And as I said, you can use the aggression to your advantage. You see, to your advantage. You see how he was charging in there? He was running straight at me, and then right before he got to me, I used my special, and it hit him really hard. So let's see. Right now, I want to back away and heal. You see, with every attack, he's doing like 1/3 of my health. So let's see. I want him to run towards me, and see, I'm kind of using that to my advantage. You kind of got to get the timing right, but once you do, it feels pretty natural to pull it off. You see, he does have one flask. He healed up quite a bit of his health bar there, but he only has one flask. So once he uses that, he's done for the fight. So you see, he tried to chug and he got nothing. So sucks to be him. And I did, even though he's an apparition, it appears, I did bleed him, which is very strange. But anyway, make it make sense. But yeah, he's about dead now. And this guy takes you a few tries. Don't sweat it. As I said, he took me like a half hour on my first playthrough. But again, I was at level 0 for Erdtree blessings, and being at blessing 3 makes a huge difference. So for killing him, we get the Great Sword of Solitude. Awesome weapon. I used it a lot on my first playthrough, and I plan to use it a lot on this playthrough as well. I also got the Helm of Solitude, his armor. His armor is very good. It's kind of heavy, but it is good armor. If you want to try it out, play with it a little bit. Another thing that'll help you with this fight that I probably should have done, you know, I did buff up before I went in, but if you to your equipment, if you take this Blade of Mercy off and put on the Great Shield Talisman again, because he's very hard to get a critical unless you're parrying. Having that Great Shield Talisman, he'll do a lot less damage to you. So that might be a good thing if you're struggling with that fight as well. But anyways, as for now, we've come to the end of this episode. That's all we've got for this one. So anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed. I think we've got ourselves a really good start to the DLC. I'm feeling really good about just kind of our foundation that we built in this episode. And of course, we're going to be building on that in future episodes. Had a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to this walkthrough, guys. So really hope you enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for more. So take care, everybody.